Karl Maria Wiligut was an Austrian occultist and SS-Brigadeführer. Early life. Wiligut was baptized a Roman Catholic in Vienna. At the age of 14, he joined the Kadettenschule there. Aged 17, he was conscripted to the K.U.K. Infantry Regiment of Milan I King of Serbia. On the 17th of December 1883, he was appointed to infantry. 4 days later he became a Gefreiter. In 1888, he was promoted to lieutenant. Career. In 1889, he joined the quasi-Masonic Schlaraffia Lodge. He published his first book, Seyfriedensrunnen, in 1903, under his real name, as Karl Maria Wiligut, mentioning his real and additional artist name. 1908 followed the Neugebote Gottes, where Wiligut first claimed to be heir to an ancient tradition of Ermenism. Both Liszt and Wiligut were influenced by Friedrich Bach's 1900 Die Buchstaben Gutenbergs. During World War I, Wiligut served at the Southern and Eastern Fronts and he was decorated for gallantry. On the 1st of August 1917, he was promoted to colonel. In May 1918, he was retired from the front and commanded a convalescence camp near Lviv. After almost 40 years in military service, he retired on the 1st of January 1919 with an impeccable record, and moved to Mortz near Salzburg, where he dedicated his time to occult studies. He renewed his acquaintance with Theodore Czepel of the Ordo Novi Templi, who in winter 1920-21 spent 7 weeks in Wiligut's house. Czepel compiled a report for the archive of the ONT, where he describes Wiligut as a man martial in aspect, who revealed himself as bearer of a secret line of German kingship. Wiligut supposedly founded the post-war newspaper Der Eisenbahn, although no evidence for such a newspaper exists. Personal life. In 1906, he married Malwine Luz von Thüringen of Bozen, with whom he had 2 daughters, Gertrude and Lot. A twin brother of one of the girls died as an infant, a devastating tragedy for Wiligut, who was desperate for a male heir to which he could pass on his secret knowledge, which estranged him from his wife. Hospitalization. Wiligut's wife remained unimpressed by her husband's above claim to kingship, and blaming him for their destitution, she pushed for his committal to a mental hospital. While in a cafe with some friends, on the 29th of November 1924, Wiligut was arrested by police and taken to the local mental institution, where he was held for a couple of years. Wiligut's medical records reflect violence at home, including threats to kill his wife, grandiose projects, eccentric behavior and occult interests. Eventually, in 1924, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and megalomania and was declared legally incompetent by a Salzburg court and then committed to a Salzburg asylum, where he remained until 1927. In 1932, he abandoned his wife and family, and emigrated from Austria to Germany, residing in Munich. He is known to have corresponded with many admirers and disciples, including Ernst Rudiger and members of the Order of the New Templars. Involvement in Himmler's Persönlichkeitsstab. Shortly after being introduced to Reichsführer SS Himmler in September 1933 at a conference of the Nordische Gesellschaft, Wiligut was inducted into the SS to head a department for pre- and early history which was created for him within the SS Race and Settlement Main Office. In April 1934 he was promoted to the SS equivalent of his old colonel rank, and then made head of Section 8 for Russia in October 1934. In November 1934 a promotion followed to the rank of Oberführer, and then in the spring of 1935 Wiligut was transferred to Berlin to serve on Himmler's personal staff. He was promoted to the rank of Brigadeführer in September 1936. In Berlin, where he worked in the office of Karl Wolff, chief adjutant of the SS, Wiligut developed his plans for the rebuilding of the Wewelsburg into an allegorical center of the world. Wiligut's friend Manfred von Nobelsdorf attempted to practice Wiligut's Urbanism on the Wewelsburg, a baptismal ceremony for Karl Wolff's eldest son Thorisman is published in the Wolff bibliography by Joch and Lang. The Urbanistic baptism occurred on the 4th of January 1937, attended by SS dignitaries Reinhard Heydrich and Karl Diebitsch. In summer 1936, Günther Kirchhoff and Wiligut undertook a private 22-day expedition to the Murg Valley near Baden-Baden in the Black Forest, where there was a settlement described as consisting of old half-timbered houses, architectural ornament, crosses, inscriptions, and natural and man-made rock formations in the forest, which they claimed showed it to be an ancient Chris settlement. Wiligut identified Schloss Eberstein as a center of Urbanism. In Saxony, he discovered another Urbanist complex, identifying Einem as Spirit Point, Bodenberg as Will Point, Gandersheim as Central Awareness Point, Engelade as Force Hand Point, Kallerfeld as Heart Point of the Crucified Boulder, Brunstein as Generative Point, Nansen as Material Hand Point, and Ebergutzen as Skuld Point. Wiligut identified Urbanism as the true German ancestral religion, claiming that Guido von List's Watanism and Armin N. Runic Roh was a schismatic false religion. Wiligut contributed significantly to the development of Wewelsburg as the order castle and ceremonial center of SS pseudo-religious practice. He designed the Totenkopfring, which Himmler personally awarded to prestigious SS officers. Retirement. In November 1938, Karl Wolff, chief adjutant of Himmler's personal staff and the second highest-ranking officer in the SS, visited Wiligut's wife and learned of Wiligut's earlier involuntary commitment to a mental institution, which proved embarrassing to Himmler. Wiligut's staff was notified that his application for retirement on grounds of age and poor health had been granted in February 1939, and the official retirement was dated the 28th of August 1939, only a few days prior to the outbreak of World War II. Death. Wiligut's final years were insecure. He moved to Aufkirchen in 1939, to Goslar in 1940, and to Wörthersee in 1943, and after the war to a refugee camp in St. Johann near Velden, where he suffered a stroke. After this he was permitted to return to Salzburg, but he soon moved on to Arolsen in Hesse, where he died on the 3rd of January 1946. His gravestone is inscribed with UNS Our Leben GEHTDAHINWIEINGESCHWATZ. Occult involvement. In 1889, Wiligut joined the Schlaraffia, a quasi-Masonic lodge. When he left the lodge in 1909, he held the rank of knight in the office of chancellor. His first book, Seefriedensrunnen, was published in 1903 under his full real name with the addition Lobessem. Seefriedensrunnen was a collection of poems about the Rabenstein at Znaim on the Austrian-Moravian border. In 1908 followed the Neungebote Gottes, where Wiligut first claimed to be heir to an ancient tradition of Urbanism. Both Liszt and Wiligut were influenced by Friedrich Fischbach's 1900 Die Buchstaben Gutenbergs. Wiligut claimed to be in the tradition of a long line of Germanic mystic teachers reaching back into prehistoric times. He also claimed to have spiritual powers that allowed him direct access to genetic memories of his ancestors thousands of years previously. From 1908, Wiligut was in contact with the occultist Ordo Novi Templi in Vienna. Wiligut claimed that the Bible had originally been written in Germanic, and testified to an Erminic religion, Erman religion or Ermanism, that contrasted with Watanism. He claimed to worship a Germanic god, Christ, whom Christianity was supposed later to have appropriated as their own savior Christ. According to Wiligut, Germanic culture and history reached back to 228,000 BC. He proposed that at this time, there were 3 suns, and Earth was inhabited by giants, dwarfs and other mythical creatures. Wiligut claimed that his ancestors, the Adler Willigorten, ended a long period of war. By 12,500 BC, the Erminic religion of Christ was revealed and from that time became the religion of all Germanic peoples, until the schismatic adherents of Watanism gained the upper hand. In 1200 BC, the Watanists succeeded in destroying the Erminic religious center at Goslar, following which the Erminists erected a new temple at the Externsteine, which was in turn appropriated by the Watanists in AD 460. Wiligut's own ancestors were supposedly protagonists in this setting. The Wiligutis were Ursprünglings descending from union of Asir and Vanir. They founded the city of Vilna as the center of their Germanic empire and always remained true to their Erminic faith. Wiligut's convictions assumed a paranoid trait in the 1920s as he became convinced that his family was the victim of a continuing persecution of Erminists, at present conducted by the Roman Catholic Church, the Jews, and the Freemasons, on which groups he also blamed the defeat of World War I and the downfall of the Habsburg Empire. During the 1920s, Wiligut wrote down 38 verses, the so-called Hagaritas Prush, that he claimed to have memorized as a child. Taught by his father, Wiligut had designed his own runic alphabet for this purpose. Werner von Bülow and Emil Rudiger of the Gesellschaft translated and annotated these verses. They claimed that Numbers chapter 27 and 18:18 are connected with the Black Sun. Verse number 27, according to Wiligut, is a 20,000-year-old solar blessing. Sunnas argus santato sintia peri fur sprue Wilugoti hagathon halga fur santato. Werner von Bülow translates this as follows. Legend tells that 2 suns, 2 wholesome in change, ruler and sun, alike to the hourglass which turned upside down ever gives one of these the victory. The meaning of the divine errand wandering way, Drosstar, in fire sphere, became in fire tongue revealed to the earth I-course of the race of paradise. God-willing leaders lead to the wheel through their care in universal course. What is visible and soon hidden, whence they led the imagination of mankind, polar in change play, from earth to sun in sacrificial service of waxing and waning, in holy fire. Santa is ambiguously spent in sparks but turns victorious to blessing. Santa is interpreted as a burnt-out sun that was still visible at the time of Homer. Rudiger speculates that this was the center of the solar system hundreds of millennia ago, and he imagines a fight between the new and the old suns that was decided 330,000 years ago. Santa is seen as the source of power of the Hyperboreans. In esoteric currents of neo-Nazism, neo-folk, National Socialist black metal and neo-paganism, Wiligut's writings enjoyed renewed interest in the 1990s. Runes. In 1934, Wiligut developed a rune row loosely based on the Armanen runes of Guido von List. Even though Wiligut rejected List's runes and his overall philosophy, Wiligut claimed to have been initiated into runic lore by his grandfather Karl Wiligut. His rune row has 24 letters, like the elder Futhark. Like von Liszt's Arminen runes that are closely based on the younger Futhark, many of Wiligut's runes are identical to historical runes, with some additions. The historical Futhark sequence is not preserved. Wiligut's names for his runes are Tel, Man, Kan, Fa, Asher, Oz, Is, Not, Tor, Tir, Laf, Rit, Thorn, Sig, Zil, Yer, Hagal, H, Wend, Horn, Jiber, Othel, Barb, York. Runes without precedent in the historical runes are Tel, Tor, Zil, Jiber. The shape of Wendhorn is similar to Tivamada. Awards and decorations. Military Merit Crossed 3rd class with war decoration and swords. Military Merit Medal in silver and in bronze, on ribbon of the Military Merit Cross with swords. Military Jubilee Cross. Jubilee Commemorative Medal. Memorial Cross 1912-13. Karl Troop Cross. Wound Medal. Austrian War Commemorative Medal with swords. Anschluss Medal. Sudetenland Medal. War Merit Crossed 1st and 2nd class with swords. SS Honor Ring. Sword of Honor of the Reichsführer SS.